Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's the world's cutest narcissist back at it again. I have been through hell and back. I am starting to feel a bit better now, but I took a long social media break. And I just wanted to let you know that the video that is about to happen was recorded when I was going through my worst. It is on narcissistic collapse, and let's just get straight into it. Welcome back to my channel. It's a collapsed narcissist educating you today.
Collapse, which means basically becoming debilitated over all loss of narcissistic supply and or exposure for who they truly are, which is a liar, a fraud, and a con man or woman, and usually a serial abuser. Both of those things usually will happen for the narcissist to collapse. One public example I have seen of a collapsed narcissist is the Harvey Weinstein case. Here he was one of the most powerful people in Hollywood, and he was exposed as a serial rapist and attacker and a complete and utter fraud who had been abusing people for decades and had gotten away with it. When and if a woman he had raped or attacked dared to speak up about it or hold him accountable, he would have them targeted, stalked, harassed, and smeared in the most vulgar ways.
Just go over the things wrong with that video real quick. Number one, all narcissists will behave the same during a collapse. Watch out, danger. Number two, equating NPD to physical abuse automatically. Number three, equating NPD to SAing somebody. I'm about to read to you some actual studies on narcissistic collapse and what it really is. Alright, what is narcissistic collapse? The fear of being publicly humiliated can lead a narcissist to stop functioning. Narcissists can experience a narcissistic collapse when faced with a situation resulting in public humiliation or failure. During a narcissistic collapse, the narcissist's defenses that keep them confident and basically sane are no longer working. In a collapse, they can feel extremely anxious, depressed, ashamed, fuck my life. They may be unable to keep functioning. In short, it's the worst thing that could possibly happen to a narcissist. Really over the narrative where people just try to make it out like a narcissist that's collapsing is gonna fucking attack you and like they're villains, they turn into utter villains. Like, no, it's actually the worst psychological terror that any individual could ever experience. Alright, here's some more. In general, it may involve intense emotional reactions and a tendency towards vindictive behaviors, but it can also lead to depression and withdrawal. Me. Narcissistic collapse isn't a permanent occurrence once it happens, thank fucking God, or else I would have killed myself already. Typically, the emotional pain will decrease and the person will return to feeling their usual. So hope for y'all out there that are collapsing. Narcissistic collapse can turn an overt narcissist into a covert. Okay? Now, we all know that overt and covert are just terms to describe a fluctuation that pathological narcs experience. They fluctuate all the time between vulnerable and grandiose. But the mostly grandiose narcissists, sometimes they can take jobs as actors, politicians, other leadership positions, where they'll seldom be questioned or looked down upon, therefore preventing opportunities for collapse. If they do collapse, however, it could result in anxiety and depression that keeps them from getting out of bed and functioning at a normal level. Once again, also me. Collapse can also lead to suicide, unbeknownst to many. Alright, here's another one. Without the prop of their grandiosity, they can sink into a, I'm not going to say that word, SHAME, based depression in which they are afraid of the future and can no longer function in the present. In extreme cases, narcissists may attempt suicide because they view death as less dreadful than being publicly exposed as an inadequate fake or literally living with themselves. A study that says, I have seen a few moderate to high functioning clients with narcissistic personality disorder who entered psychotherapy in a collapsed state, me again, because they could no longer keep up the pretense that they were grandiose or confident. By collapse, I mean that they were extremely anxious, me, depressed, also me, and could not continue functioning at work or home, me. These clients had been high achievers at work and on the surface, and their life appeared quite enviable, me. Okay, I'm done. Alright, I will stop. Now something had shifted. They could no longer maintain their defensive grandiosity, and they believed they were in danger of being publicly exposed as fakes and failures, or had already been. They can experience a mental breakdown. When a narcissist is collapsing, it can be scary for them and the people around them. I will admit that. I have raged out a few times. Thank God I have an understanding partner. All their notions around the world and themselves are collapsing, and this can go to a point where they begin to have hallucinations and can even experience psychotic breaks. Did you know? Well, no, you probably were just reading shit about how they're going to attack you. It's about time that we start treating NPD like the mental health condition it is. Not a personality flaw, a mental health condition. Anyway, this one says, when a narcissist is collapsing, they will also have the firm belief that the world is against them. They can seem like they are complaining a lot, or even that they are paranoid. Me, 100%. Believing everyone can either see through them or is out to get them. If you are around a narcissist that's collapsing, you may notice that they are turning more irritable, withdrawing socially, or can even become verbally aggressive. Well, they had to include that one because, I mean, it can be true. But let's get the full picture. This one says they can switch patterns of behavior. If the narcissist in your life has always been overt, I already went over this, but it may be that while they are collapsing, they will turn into a covert narcissist. Me and me again. They will likely, I said I would stop doing that. Why am I still doing that? I'm so fucking annoying. That will likely happen when they feel so, I'm not reading that word, ASHAMED, for losing their sense of identity, that they choose to isolate themselves. Oh my God, literally, just kidding, that's not me, I refuse. No, it is. Moments like these, I just try to remind myself that, like, these are symptoms of a diagnosis, and that the real me underneath is not, like, pathetic or humiliated or whatever. I may or may not possibly have been delusional the past week, but it's okay, because I'm recovering, and I'm starting to see my NPD as separate than myself, so I don't kill myself. Anyway, next, the opposite is also possible. A covert narcissist can become an overt as they collapse. In that case, they may do so to try and be more straightforward and regain the admiration or control that they need. Let me tell you, control is a major problem here. I just had a panic attack last night that lasted like 30 minutes because I felt like I was losing my entire sense of internal and external control. It's time for a little backstory. So, my initial collapse began 6 months ago when I was feeling a little off, as I can sometimes. And usually when I feel a little off, I isolate myself for like a few days or whatever. And then like once I'm feeling more back to my grand self, I go out again. Usually I can rationalize in my head that like whatever I'm going through isn't my fault. And I can find evidence for it too and move on. Like, oh man, this depression and PTSD I didn't ask for is attacking me. Like, this fucking sucks. I'm so bitter. God, why am I so unlucky to live with this? It's stopping me from being as great as I want to be. So for whatever reason, I took shrooms and something was just like off that night. And it started off with a feeling of like, what if a perfect person wouldn't experience what I'm experiencing? That was just the first thought. And then it went to, well, they wouldn't be anxious. They would go out and be able to charm people. Why do you struggle with this so much? You're always desperately trying to be charming while it comes naturally to other people. You're a fraud. Then, and this was the actual traumatic part, to be honest, I've had a full realization on shrooms that like I was actually having these thoughts, like me. And that just like further propelled me to like believe that someone truly confident or truly superior would never have those thoughts. And if I wasn't truly confident or truly superior, everything was literally a lie about myself. My thoughts spiraled like this, okay? My entire sense of self felt like it caved in. I was on the couch, I had a panic attack, and I was like hyperventilating and crying, and my partner saw me like that on top of everything. He heard me confess that I felt like I had lost all my charm. I was so traumatized. I raged out on him for seeing me like that. He's a living reminder of that self state. But I can't let him go because guess what? I've truly fallen in love with him. Things just got worse from there, to be honest. I was able to pull myself out of that spiral eventually by convincing myself that my anxiety and my PTSD had just taken over my greatness. And like at that point, it wasn't me thinking those things. It was a sickness that like was corrupting my perfection or something. But by then it had already been weeks, and I had been isolating, which made it worse. And I had been isolating with those thoughts as reality, even if they were delusions. And after that, yeah, I was utterly traumatized. But I called my therapist and I explained to him everything. I said, hey, yo, I'm at rock bottom. I could not even get worse if I tried. So here's the truth about what I'm going through. Here's what I'm feeling. I don't think, please just, give me, okay. Imagine that your sense of self is like a Jenga block tower. And one little block gets pulled out from the tower, at the very bottom, the foundation. And the whole thing is collapsing. And you can feel it collapsing. But that's you. That's, your entire existence. I felt like I was going insane, almost. I was terrified. That inner voice tries to tell me shit, you're a literal fraud. You don't even have a childhood to share or any fun stories. You're wasting your life away. Soon you'll look old and be utterly worthless. The clock is ticking. Just go out of the fucking house already, you useless piece of shit. What, are you even unable to do that? You've even done all these things in your life. You just lie about it to make you look good. Everyone is one step away from seeing into you. Only a pathetic person would experience this anxiety. Your perception of yourself as great was a lie. No great person would have ever gotten to this point. You're wasting away your talent too. You never sing anymore. Plus, there's other singers out there. You're not even special. That's the trend of the thoughts. Sorry, I dissociated. You need so badly to be adored, but you don't even have the skills to go get it. Any friends you make will see you're an empty fraud with nothing to offer. You don't even have any hobbies or opinions. You have to fake literally everything because you don't even care about anything. I'm still trying to convince myself something has besieged me that I didn't ask for. Some sickness, some villainous, horrific karma or trauma or something that the real me could still be great, that I should go to therapy to rid myself of this hell at all costs. And on some days that I receive a lot of affirmation or whatever from my followers, you lovely people, and my partner, who told me over and over again, these negative thoughts are literally delusions. You're delusional. He constantly trying to convince me I haven't lost my charm. I've still got it. I'm okay. On those days, I'm still able to feel like my old sense of self just a little bit. The villainous, horrific sickness and karma is actually probably my NPD. And self-realizing that is insane. Hey, what the fuck? This was supposed to, what has happened? Or honestly, it's probably not my NPD itself. It's the lack of my NPD. What happens when you cut underneath all those defenses? When you fuck a narcissist up and they can no longer keep it up. I just feel like it's so severely misunderstood what NPD is. It protects the narcissist from suicide, collapsing of yourself, primal existential terror. As a self-aware narcissist, I'm telling you now, it's about time we start seeing this as a mental health condition. Not a demonic ailment, not a personality flaw. We need to look at NPD through the lens of symptomology, through the lens of delusions, through the lens of healing. How can we help this person heal? How can we further the study of NPD through history makers like me to develop a treatment program that could possibly help narcissists integrate their sense of self, which is severely fractured and not able to be messed with through simple human hands of, the narcissist partner. To look at this through the lens of how can we stop our own children from becoming narcissists? from having to go through this hell. This article continues, they will often need to go to therapy to recreate a sense of self after collapse, and maybe do so in a way that they don't feel so overwhelmed by the pressure they impose on themselves. The idea that they might be a flawed person is devastating to someone with this disorder and can lead them to sink into a SHAME-based depression. Their fear of exposure in the future impacts their ability to function in the present. For me, that looks like I want to go out and make friends, but I'm filled with all these thoughts of like, they're gonna see through you, you have no substance, you've lost your charm. Someone with NPD uses the facade of grandiosity as a sort of defense. When that defense mechanism stops working, the person is forced to face the deep, horrific negative feelings, we'll say, that drive their condition. This results from a low that shatters their ability to uphold the pretense of being extraordinary. As examples of what could trigger the collapse, she pointed to job losses, social rejections, but added that these would likely have to occur in a series, as one blow is rarely sufficient to penetrate a narcissist's defenses. She explains that since a narcissistic collapse shakes the person's identity and impacts what drives them, they'll typically feel empty and directionless because they don't see a possibility of getting admiration from others. It's not uncommon for people with NPD to feel deeply depressed, alone, and even suicidal when experiencing narcissistic collapse. These symptoms, once again, thank God, while intense and dangerous, are typically temporary. Don't listen to the bullshit out there about narcissistic collapse and all the horrific posts on it describing the narcissist as worthless and that you should just throw them away. These are utter bullshit. You're suffering from a mental health condition you didn't ask for. People can go fuck themselves. Not helping society as a whole understand mental health deeper and prevent these crises from happening. There's so many bitter people in this world that are trying to discount my diagnosis because I don't fit their vision of their narcissist, and they're uncomfortable with the idea that narcissism could actually be a result of trauma and that these people aren't evil demons. That makes them have to actually self-reflect and think about the relationship and their part in it. And they don't want to do that. It's easier to see a narcissist as a demon. And if they see me acting in a way that contradicts that, having this diagnosis on my records, they freak the fuck out because they're not comfortable with that worldview. And it's sad because having that worldview actually leads to healing a lot more than hating your narcissist. People also aren't used to the internal experience of narcissism, and they want to reject it because it's uncomfortable for them to think of their own partner going through that, because it might trigger, feelings of wanting to go back to the relationship or, entrap themselves again in the abuse, and they probably remember how hard it took for them to break that trauma bond and get out of the relationship. To my followers who have reached out to me on Instagram saying, we miss you, we love your content, please come back, we're worrying about you, we're hoping you're okay. I am okay, I'm getting through it, and I will be back. And I love you all. Stay safe. See you next video.